Hey everybody, I just want to talk about Planet Coaster 2 for a few minutes, and specifically, you've read the title, about water slides. Now, let me preface this by saying that although I haven't talked much about Planet Coaster 2 publicly because I'm not a big fan of doing these kind of update videos, I'm overall pretty hyped. I think the theme park side of the game looks very promising with really cool features that I'm really looking forward to, so very positive about it overall. But the water park side of it looks a little bit neglected. And I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of a water park enthusiast. I like to visit them pretty often, almost as often as I visit theme parks, and I just haven't gotten around to talk about it much on this channel, so maybe I'm also hyped to talk about it in that sense. But overall, I'm mostly disappointed, because I just want to talk about how bad the water slides are in this game, and why you should probably be a little bit concerned about it. Before I go on, let me give a quick shout out to SimplySavannah for sharing their video game footage with me from the exclusive preview event, because they recorded a POV of all the different slides, which helps me to illustrate my point, so that's pretty awesome. And also, I am making this video because I am kind of hopeful that Frontier does pick up constructive criticism and try to do something about it if they can, because people have been kind of vocal about the slide segments on Planet Coaster 2 being way too small on the earlier screenshots and builds, and they recently released a screenshot where you can see the slide segments are much longer and also much more realistic if we compare it to a picture of a real slide like this. So maybe something will change, but for now, these are my biggest issues. First of all, the animations. And this is something that could be a work in progress and maybe fixed later on, but the animations are kind of stilted and don't really look like gravity and centripetal forces are affecting the guests. There's just something about the way on this body slide POV that the body of the test dummy here is just sticking to a certain angle on the side of the slide, and then once a curve goes into the other direction, it very quickly switches to the other side, almost like it's not affected by any forces, but just completing its animation keyframe and perfectly sticks at the exact same angle. And this is something that I've seen on a bunch of slide POVs, which makes me a little bit concerned about the animations overall. There's also some animations on some of these specific elements, like the ball, which don't look super realistic. But again, this is also something that might not be set in stone, so I'm not too concerned about this. What I am very concerned about, though, is the animations on all the slides but the body slide. And that's to do with a much bigger issue. You see, for some reason the slides are flat-bottomed. And this is just not a thing in real life. Water slides don't look like this, they never look like this, and it also creates, at least in-game, a weird kind of slide experience where there is no rocketing from side to side and swinging inside a tube. And it also must mean that it's pretty painful to ride these slides. Realistically, you're probably gonna bash your head into the wall at just about every curve and experience some pretty crazy lateral G-forces. Now, a couple weeks ago, King RCT3 posited a pretty plausible theory as to why this is on the Bro Nation Discord that I am willing to believe and illustrate with these very professional schematics. Basically, the issue is that if you do want to animate, for instance, an inner tube on a round water slide, as they usually are, the inner tube is going to be straight when you're holding it in your hands and walking up the stairs, and even if you put it on the slide. But as soon as you sit on that thing, it's gonna, make more of a concave shape. And it probably means that to do a realistic job of simulating water slides like this, you either have to animate the inner tube and the peep sliding down on it, or you have to swap out the models of your inner tubes once a guest enters a slide, or you have your inner tube kind of floating above the slide bottom, or maybe even kind of clipping through the sides of the slide. I'm not saying I know the best solution to this issue, but I'm pretty sure that the best solution wasn't to make the entire bottom of the slide flat. It just looks a bit weird, and I also think this is not really what people are looking for in a water slide game. I think a big part of the fun of building water slides as opposed to roller coasters is just like bobsled coasters, watching the vehicles interact in a very free-flowing state with whatever layout you've built, to build maybe a crazy large tall drop and then a very small curve after that, so that you get this crazy banking and just... I don't know a way to put this more scientifically, but I think even in real life, that's a big part of the fun of water slides. Just rocking from side to side in those crazy motions, the more speed you build up. So I don't know what the solution to this is, but please, at some point, try to figure out if it is possible to bring that to the game, because up until that point, I'm not sure if the water slides in the game are what the people who are looking forward to a water slide game are looking for. By the way, I can nitpick as well, and I think this is a nitpick that doesn't really need to be addressed, but I do think it's kind of funny how the trapdoor slide opens up from the back. Personally, I've had the pleasure of riding quite a few of these in real life. They're really fun, but also you always enter these things from the side because you have to be able to open that door yourself, because some of them are self-operated. But also you have to find a place to stand on and lean back against the back wall. And then that back wall also has running water, so that when the trapdoor drops, your back doesn't scratch alongside dry fiberglass and you get first-degree burns. And all of that isn't really possible with this whole backdoor setup, but I am pretty sure they made it this way because it means you don't have to make a hole in the path system, because now you can just have your slide kind of clipping through the path. So it is what it is. That's not my main point I want to make in this video, but it's kind of worth showing off, I think, also to consider the overall realism of water parks in this game. Also, I got very distracted and opened up Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which is a game that coincidentally this week came out 20 years ago. This is from October 2004. And this game is probably my favorite water park game so far. Also had swimming pools and slides, and I just wanted to refresh my memory on how they look in this game. And I'm sorry to say, but I think the animations in this game are more realistic. For one, you can see that the animations are a bit more fluid. Like, for example, when this dummy enters a curve, they don't just stick to a certain angle, but gravity and centripetal forces kind of battle it out on its wet slithering body and it shuffles back and forth, which is kind of realistic. They also fly out of a curve if you don't bank it well enough and it has too much speed. It's just kind of funny to watch and maybe even crash into people, the things we did back then. And also, we have inner tube slides with actual round slide bottoms, as they are in real life. And I suppose that inner tube is floating off the bottom of the slide a tiny bit and clipping into the side of the slide a tiny bit. If you look at the person's right foot here, that's our right foot, or looking from our perspective, you know what I mean? You can see that the inner tube is kind of clipping a tiny bit there. But overall, I think it's a worthwhile sacrifice to make. And, you know, looking at this whole situation, I ended up spending maybe 2 hours building different slides in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 because it was just so much fun to build these slides and see how the guests riding these slides interact with them, and how sometimes they fly out of them and sometimes they hit a curve and they do a crazy loop-de-loop. I actually managed to do this by building a crazy drop and then a way too small curve. Whatever the case, I'm kind of begging of Frontier to reconsider their approach to water slides in the game. And maybe this was all just a dream, maybe it was a placeholder, maybe the animations are gonna change and the flat bottoms have been an experiment. But in any case, this is something that I wanted to say because nobody, at least nobody with a big platform on YouTube, probably plenty of people have said this before. That's it for this video. I hope it wasn't too negative. I'm gonna try to turn this into a compliment sandwich and give it a positive ending again. I'm really looking forward to Planet Coaster 2 for almost everything else, I swear, which is all the more reason why this is frustrating me a little bit, especially given that this is the main selling point of the game. But, you know, this game that is being marketed as a water park game, I would recommend people to get this for the amazing improvements that they've made on the graphics, for the crazy way you can stick scenery to flat rides and roller coasters, and my head is just popping off my body thinking of ideas of what to do with that. But it makes it even more sad that the water parks look like this. So that's gonna be my essay. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of my thoughts on this and what you think of Planet Coaster 2 overall. And let's try to keep ourselves distracted while the wait for the inevitable launch is taking way too long for me. So that's that. Take care, everybody.